So, Bella, thank you very much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Max.
Today, we have a very special guest that I'm sure most of you already know. Bella, aka Steak and Butter Girl, is one of the most incredible carnivore stories. She was actually vegan for 6 years before making the switch overnight to a carnivore diet. In today's interview, Bella will be sharing her story on how a vegan diet destroyed her health and how a carnivore diet, essentially like magic, fixed everything, as well as what she ate in a day to heal and lose weight, how carnivore affected her mental health, the main mistakes she sees people make on carnivore, her thoughts on things like coffee, and even how she deals with attacks online from the vegan trolls and even the mainstream media. So you've been carnivore for 5 years now, but before, well over 5 years now, but beforehand you were actually vegan for 6 years. Can you take us back all the
Mm.
way 11 years ago when you first switched to a vegan diet? What was the thought process? Who sort of put you on that track, and how did that experience go for you?
Yeah. So when I first started the vegan diet, I was very much wanting to lose weight. So at that time, I was around 17, 18 years young, and I was in high school still, last year of high school, so senior year. And I don't know if you're in Australia, right?
New Zealand.
Oh, sorry, New Zealand. That's awesome. I don't know if you guys have this phrase over there, but here in the States, we say freshman 15. So you gain 15 pounds over the course of your high school. So I definitely gained my freshman 15 and I was freaking out as a teenage girl. I very much wanted to be thin. Okay. So not the best goal, but I also was a pianist. So I would be performing concerts, competing. And so I had to wear these really tight dresses. So there was a lot of pressure at the time to lose that freshman 15. And as a young teenage girl, I just did a quick search. And the first person that popped up for me was this girl called Freely the Banana Girl. And to this day, I think she still posts about her vegan diet. But at that time, years and years ago, she was saying that you can do a raw till four diet, which is you eat raw vegan until 4 p.m. And then when 4 p.m. hits, you eat cooked vegan. So cooked starches, cooked potato, cooked veggie, cooked rice, cooked pasta that's vegan. And you can eat like that and look like her. And at that time, she had this like six pack and she was lean. I was like, I want to look like that. So I tried it. I jumped right in. For me personally, I do have a very extreme personality where when I want to do something, I will go in 110%. There is no in the middle for me. So I went all in vegan and I lost the weight. I actually lost quite a lot of weight really quickly. Thinking back, it's definitely because I cut out all of the junk that I was eating, the junk food, the standard American seed oil, sugar, high sugar foods, and the processed junk. So because I lost the weight and I got to my goal so quickly, I was like, this is the diet for me. This truly is the best diet. And I ended up sticking to it for 6 years straight and never veered off. I'm just a very committed person if I want to be. And after 6 years, that's when I found myself with some serious health concerns, specifically wrecked hormones. I didn't have a period anymore. And so I think that not having a period specifically was the wake up call, the red flag to like wake me up and say, hey, maybe vegan diet isn't the best diet after all.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's very easy to go down the vegan path. I remember when I was younger and I watched that Game Changers documentary, and I remember thinking, oh, geez, I need to go vegan. So,
Yeah.
but I was right into bodybuilding at the time, and had I not been concerned about where I was going to get my protein from, even I might have gone down that path as
Right.
a teenager growing up. It's a very easy to go down that way. So, what inspired the switch to carnivore? Because obviously, overnight you went from vegan to carnivore. Not it's like quite a drastic shift in diet.
It is. Yeah, it's a very drastic shift, but I did a lot of research. I watched all of the women stories that I could because I needed a story that I could relate to that inspired me. And there were two vegan turned carnivore women who were both Asian too, that were sharing their stories at that time. So this is about 5.5 years ago. Azra Conlu and Kasumi Chris. So at that time, they were saying, okay, vegan diet destroyed my health. but I went carnivore and I ate only animal foods, and this is what I healed. And these two ladies, what they healed and also how they looked like before and after, I was incredibly inspired. I was like, this is the story that hopefully I can also, achieve, and the goals that they have achieved. So, because of these two women, I started to filter my searches carnivore diet only, right? Carnivore diet story, carnivore diet women. And then Kelly Hogan popped up. So she is truly the longest term carnivore woman that I know. And I've met her personally. She is so full of life, so healthy. She has 4 kids and she's been carnivore for like 20 years, maybe more. So she inspired me to really focus on, okay, let's just go carnivore because again, I'm very all in. If carnivore can heal me, let's just start with all in carnivore. So that's why I personally decided to do that switch overnight. Was it a good idea? Probably not the best idea. But yeah, I decided to do that because it truly was what I wanted.
Hmm. And then when you
Yeah.
made that switch, what did you notice pretty quickly? What were the main differences and how you felt? Can you take us
Yeah.
through that?
Of course. When I made the switch initially, I would say I always try to encourage people to, before doing like an overnight switch like I did, to think about it a little bit and to plan it out because I had oxalate dumping like crazy. And for those who don't know what oxalate dumping is, check out Sally K. Norton. She's the go-to for that. But basically, when you eat a diet that is full of oxalates, and this includes celery, spinach, cinnamon, um, chocolate has a lot of oxalates. Basically, a vegan diet is like the highest oxalate diet you can possibly eat. Sweet potatoes. When you eat a diet like that for a period of time and then you cut it out, you will start oxalate dumping. So you will have these detox symptoms. For example, crystals coming out of your skin, crystals coming out of your eyes, crystals coming out of your urine, and having cloudy urine. There's a bunch of symptoms that Sally can talk about and teach. And I had it specifically oxalate dumping in my eyes. So when I would wake up in the morning upon starting carnivore, I would open my eyes and they would be just sticky and gooey and filled with gunk and oxalates. Okay. Just filled with these like dried crystals, but also gunk. And also, I had worsening of my skin autoimmune issues. So, besides bringing back my period, I really wanted to heal my eczema, psoriasis, and cystic acne. Definitely had to do with my rect hormones, but also the food that I was eating. And the oxalate dumping made my eczema and psoriasis even worse before it started to heal. So I always want to share this part of my journey because a lot of carnivores who are not aware of oxalate dumping and the possibility of it, it doesn't happen to everyone, but for those who it happens to, I don't want people to start this lifestyle and not know about it. And they're thinking, what is going on? Like carnivore is killing me. It's definitely not the right diet for me. And then they quit. So I always think, or I always try to say, transition slowly instead of overnight. Because when you do overnight type of approach, the oxalate dumping will be even more harsh and strong. But yeah. Oh, but you asked about the benefits.
Hmm.
Benefits are endless. Okay.
Hmm.
5.5 years in, I still feel like I'm healing. I'm having these quirky benefits. It's the ultimate life hack. I'm so happy that I found this lifestyle so young. I'm currently 27, so I started when I was 20, 23, 22. And how young are you, Max?
I'm 21. Yeah, so very lucky.
That's so awesome. That is
Mm-mm.
so awesome. And more than anything, I hope that like our generation and younger than us, the teens, the kids, they can start to be aware of this possibility of like you can just eat right and you can reach your full potential. It's so awesome. But I've healed all of my autoimmune skin issues. It's all gone. I don't get any more pimples, which is incredible and truly life changing when you've lived your whole teenage years not being able to look at anyone in the eyes because you feel so self conscious about your skin. I literally had like red, pus filled cystic acne my whole teenage life. So that healed. I brought back my period within just a few months of eating high fat carnivore. And like the list of benefits go on, but those are at the top.
Hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. It's so fascinating all the things that carnivore heals. I see one thing that comes up a lot is people's like anxiety disappears, which to a lot of
Yes.
people it's incredible how a diet could affect how you feel. You know, most people are unaware about how serotonin is made in the gut and those sort of factors that really influence your mood. Like I know many people my age, you know, whose lives are on paper perfect. They've got everything going for them, but they're just not happy. And I
Mhm.
say to these people, you know, I
Mhm.
if you change your diet, I think it would really change how you feel. What's your experience in terms
Yeah.
of switching from vegan to carnivore in terms of just overall mood and your anxiety levels?
Yeah, I can go on and on about this part because I was a classical pianist and I was pursuing to be one when I first started Carnivore. I was able to really focus on how is this affecting my mental health, my mood, my productivity, my focus when I'm practicing, and also my creativity and artistry. So I got to experience the full spectrum of how eating right can truly affect your brain and also like your heart and like the creativity flow. It was really fascinating to experience. When I was vegan, I would have brain fog every single day, all throughout the day. And this was difficult when you're trying to memorize piano pieces that last 60 minutes long. So you have to memorize 60 minutes worth of music. And this means you go on stage, you perform in front of a big crowd, you're already nervous and anxious, yet you have to be so solid with your memory when you're performing. And not only do you have to perform it perfectly, you have to bring your personality, your creativity. So it's a true test of just how focused you can be and how productive that you can be when you're practicing. And I struggled a lot with my memory when I was vegan. I would always have memory slips. I would go on stage. I would literally have anxiety attacks before having my performances. It was rough. But when I do go on stage, I'm just very self-conscious. I'm literally predicting that I'm going to have a memory slip. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. After the performance, I would beat myself up. I would feel so much guilt, like I could have done better. It wasn't great, but simply just by going carnivore and eating high fat animal foods, it changed the game. It changed everything. My memory improved. I was able to go into the practice room for like half the amount of time and get so much more work done. I could memorize faster. When I performed for the first time in my life, I wasn't nervous. I was excited and I was confident. So it's incredible what changing your diet can do. It honestly changed me as a person. Like I felt like a different person. I felt like I started to form a more confident personality. And it was very nice that I found carnivore when I was in my early 20s because it most definitely shaped me to who I am today. You know, it's
Mhm.
so inspiring.
If you're enjoying this interview and you want to see more carnivore related content like this, consider subscribing down below. The more subscribers we get, the more incredible guests like Bella that we can have on. So most people, when they go on carnivore, they lose a lot of weight. I know for me personally, you know, I've been into like sort of the bodybuilding thing for my whole life, so I go through the cutting and bulking phases. And when I started carnivore,
Mm.
I was peak bulk, which is just a nice way of saying, you know, I was pretty fat at the time.
Oh,
So I lost a lot of weight when
okay.
I first started carnivore. But you were actually the opposite. When you first started the carnivore diet, you gained a lot of weight. So can you talk us through your
Yes.
experience with that and you know what how
Yes.
when the weight started to come off for you?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I gained, I want to say 25 pounds at least. I didn't track my weight. So I put away my scale after starting carnivore because a lot of the women touting carnivore at that time, they were so encouraging in the way that they were speaking to the women listening. They were very much encouraging to stop focusing on numbers, the calories, the scale, just obsessing over those things. So I listened, I trusted my body and I allowed my body to go whatever direction it needed to go, specifically when it came to my weight. That was a very scary thing, especially when like your whole life you had to care about what you look like. Like when you are a performer, it's like a different level of caring about your body and how good you look and like how your dresses fit. It's not healthy, for sure. It's not healthy. But unfortunately, I grew up in that sphere of performance, of classical, like it's very competitive as well. So always that was in the forefront of my mind whenever I was studying music. And when I started carnivore, I gained those 25 pounds really quickly. It was a lot. And it's because I could not stop eating. Okay. My hunger and my appetite like blew up. It became this ravenous hunger. And I always like to describe it as like this bottomless pit. So I would be eating, for example, one ribeye. But after that one ribeye, I almost felt like it reached no bottom in my stomach. Like I didn't feel it even make a dent to my fullness. I was like, this one piece of ribeye is like one bite of a snack. It was it was that big, my appetite. So basically, just to give everyone an idea of how much I ate, 5 pounds of beef. Okay, I usually would eat beef because that's what everybody was recommending. High fat beef. So like high fat steaks, high fat ground beef, 5 pounds of that, plus a stick of butter every single day, each day. Okay. So that's like at least 5,000 calories a day every single day. And that's just what my body needed to finally start healing, to finally start trusting that I'm going to feed it the food that it needs. So this was 6 years of malnourishment beforehand. So it makes sense. Okay. So, but if you don't know about my history and that I was vegan and I had no period, to most people, they don't believe it. They just say, you're lying. There's no way. You're tiny right now. There's no way. I'm 5'10", by the way, so that's 178 centimeters tall. I'm really not that small, but when I first started, I needed that food. I was just hungry for it. So that's how much I ate in the beginning. So of course I gained the weight because I was eating just so much for the first time in my life too, because I was restricting my whole life. And I still trusted the process. 25 pounds of weight gain. And yet, to be honest, looking back at my photos, it looks great. Like, I don't know why I was so afraid of getting bigger. Some women, myself included, they have this crippling fear of gaining weight because they think it will make them look a certain way. Most women, when they gain weight on carnivore, it looks beautiful. It looks healthy. It's a healthy look. And especially when you need to gain the weight, you need to gain the weight. You can't fight it. You can't cheat it. You can't make shortcuts. Eventually, your body will force you to have to eat more and possibly gain the weight. But what I can say is that weight gain was temporary. Okay. So for anyone listening, thinking, oh, wait, so if I'm carnivore and I'm a female, I'm definitely going to gain weight. I can't accept it right now. This is not for me. It will eventually fall off because once you heal your hormones, you stabilize your metabolism, you rev it up, you're definitely going to lose all that extra body weight and you're going to reach whatever body you want to be at, like your set body weight. And if you want to add muscle, if you want to be leaner, go ahead and start working out, right? But first, focus on healing. So that's what happened for me.
Interesting. When you first
Yeah.
started this thing, obviously you've gained the weight, you had these oxalate dumping symptoms, carnivore diet was nowhere near as big of a thing it is now. Like now if you start it, you can look
Mhm.
online, there's influencers like you with lots of followers. We've got Sean Baker who's going on Rogan. There's a lot of high profile people who do carnivore, so it's a lot more proven. But when you first started and you had all these symptoms, were the people around you going, "Hey, Bella, are you sure about this all meat thing?"
When I first started, you're asking, or
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah, when you first started carnivore.
Wow. When I first started carnivore, I did not think I would be somebody who would be online sharing about carnivore. Like that was the last thing that I thought I would be. Because I was literally thinking I would be a pianist for the rest of my life. So how it all unraveled and became what it is today is because of the pandemic. So this was during 2019, 2020, when everything was shut down and the pandemic happened. And I literally didn't even have a graduation ceremony. That was the year I was supposed to graduate my master's degree at Juilliard. I was supposed to graduate and like celebrate and go off and become a pianist. But because of the pandemic, everybody had to stay in their apartment in New York City and do everything at home. And so I kind of lost the passion and interest in pursuing that life. And perfectly timed, at that time, I was so obsessed and so into healing with a carnivore diet. So it was just this perfect timing. And so I was like, interesting. I have all this time on my hands now. I'm stuck in the apartment. What can I just do to have some fun? And I followed so many carnivore women 5.5 years ago on Instagram. And on YouTube, there was like no one. Okay. So I only really learned on Instagram. So I was like, huh, what if I do what these Instagram ladies are doing, basically sharing their hormone healing stories, what they're eating, and I just share what I do. And so I started doing that very quickly. It got a lot of interest. Okay. So it started from the carnivore community because I would always give credit to Kelly Hogan, Sean Baker, all of the people that I loved. And they would like reshare my stuff. And so it grew very quickly on Instagram. And at that time, the carnivore community was so wholesome, so nice, so understanding. Nobody questioned what I posted because they already understood the carnivore diet. So if there's anything that's different from like then and now on Instagram and social media in general, it's that there was like no naysayers at all back then. But now they're obviously it's just getting so much attention, which is a good thing. So naturally there will be haters. But I started YouTube shortly after because of the Instagram friends that I made. They were like, we would love to see more long form videos of what you eat, how you live carnivore, how you travel. So that's how it started. And to this day, I'm still sharing. So it's incredible.
That's awesome. So currently, what do you typically eat a day? Obviously, you've got the name Steak and Butter Gal, but I assume you eat more carnivore foods than just that. So can you take us through what a typical day of eating looks like for you?
Yeah, when I first started, steak and butter cow really hit home for me because it really was pretty much steak and butter, besides steak, ground beef. So it was beef and butter. But now I am able to enjoy more variety. When I first started, of course, I wanted more variety, like some seafood, but my histamine intolerance was very high. And whenever I ate seafood, I would get very itchy eczema and psoriasis. So that's another thing for those who have a lot of autoimmune issues to heal. Look into histamine intolerance, and that could be why you're having worsening of your symptoms, or maybe like runny nose, itchy skin, all of those things. So down the line, like a couple years healed, I was able to enjoy more variety like pasture raised chicken, pasture raised pork belly. I don't eat bacon, never ate bacon. I also don't eat salt, which is also quite rare, I guess, with carnivores. But if you look at the OG carnivore group on Facebook, the zeroing in on health, they actually all say don't eat salt on carnivore. That's the best way to start. So that's how I started 5.5 years ago. Um, so I still don't eat salt and no spices. I just don't need it. A lot of fatty beef still, but a lot of seafood now, and pasture raised chicken, pork, all of those things. Dairy, when it comes to dairy, I specifically only eat raw dairy now because pasteurized dairy just completely flares up like my nose and my skin, and I don't like how I feel. So, through a lot of trial and error, giving my body the time it needs to heal first, I'm able to enjoy a lot more variety now.
Interesting. In terms of like, volume
Yeah.
per day, like how many pounds of meat do you reckon you'll be eating? How many eggs, etc.?
Yeah. I would say 3 pounds of meat on average per day now. Whereas when I first started, at least five. But, some days when I'm not walking as much or moving as much, 2.5 pounds will do. When it comes to eggs, I treat eggs as like a supplementary food to keep my carnivore diet budget friendly. So some days I'll have 12 eggs, other days I'll have eight, nine, but it's as many eggs as I desire. No, I am not concerned about the cholesterol in eggs. It is so good for us. Butter, I now eat about a fourth to half a stick a day depending on where I am in my monthly cycle. So for ladies listening and who have a period still, um, I find I need more butter the 2 days leading up to my flow. And also all throughout my flow, I will be the highest fat in that month. And then around it, I'm usually like a fourth of a stick of butter.
Hmm. Yeah, wow, that's incredible. Like, just do you find that how you could have a lot more food freedom now? It's kind of this weird paradox where you'd think that by
Yeah.
restricting all you can eat to only a few foods, that you'd, feel a lot less free. But like as your taste buds change over time and all you want is meat, and when you're eating these
Yeah,
large quantities of meat, like 3 pounds a day, to a lot of ladies at home listening, they're probably thinking to themselves, geez, I couldn't eat that much. You know what I mean? Like, do you find that you just have
absolutely.
tremendous food freedom and it's just such a great thing?
It most definitely is so funny. And like, I don't think somebody can truly understand the meaning of it by like limiting what you eat equals food freedom ultimately until you actually try carnivore. Because yes, I only eat animal foods now. Yes, I don't eat any other things, vegetables, fruits, carbs, sugar. But yet, for the first time in my life, I don't feel like food is controlling my life. So, that to me is the ultimate food freedom. Why don't you want to live a life where you can focus on achieving what you want to achieve, like dreaming big, reaching high, um, and not have food revolve around your life 24/7? For me, it was like a serious deal because when I was restricting, I felt even more chained to food. When I limited my food to just vegan foods, like plant foods, whole foods as well, I felt even more addicted to it. So it was very fascinating to see that you have to choose the right foods, right? So apparently it's high fat animal foods for me. I'm not saying that you have to eat like this to reach food freedom. For some people, it's more animal based, like the whole Paul Saladino movement. There are so many young women and men right now sharing their animal based healing journeys. So, for those types of people who already have a healed metabolism and their hormones are great, animal based with some honey and some fruit could be that answer to your food freedom. But for me, and with my addictive personality and my history of being addicted to sugar and anything sweet, I know for a fact, like right now and probably forever, high fat animal foods, no sugar, no sweetness, none of that, no plant foods is my answer to absolute food freedom. And it is life changing. I love it.
Mm, absolutely. There's a lot of people out there that think that even the Dietitians Australia, one the organization that they have on their website, they talk about how a
Yeah.
fad diet is a diet that restricts certain
Right.
foods, and you see a lot of like dietitians
Right.
online talking about how if you don't eat the ultra processed garbage, then you have an eating disorder. And the people, they pick up on this and they start repeating these things. But what these people don't understand is like these food companies, they literally have scientists working for them to make it so you just get so much dopamine and so much pleasure when you eat these things that when you're not
Yeah.
consuming them, the only thing you can think about is these foods. And so the only solution to food freedom is to completely cut them out. So what what do you think, what would your advice be to, these young people coming up? I think you're a great person to ask because you're very relatable. What would your advice be to all these people who are being told that they have an eating disorder if they had to eat this way?
Mm, that is a good question. I get comments saying that I am promoting an eating disorder every day, probably every hour. Okay. Like on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, there are comments rolling in constantly of people who do not approve of what I share. Literally, people, actually, a lot of nutritionists and dietitians criticizing me and blasting me, saying, this girl, take note, she has no degree in health or science or anything. She's actually a pianist. Okay, so what? Like, I never say I'm a doctor or any of that. And they all say she is such a harm to society, and she is literally promoting something that is an eating disorder, right? So to 99% of the population, a carnivore diet is extreme. It is crazy. It comes off as an eating disorder because you're cutting out a whole food group, carbs, right? But again, like when I actually get genuine messages and comments and I feel that they are actually curious and they are not a troll, I will go out of my way to help them. I will tell them my story, right? My personal experience, because that's the best that I can do.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, I am not a doctor and I never claim to be. I'm just sharing, hey, this is what worked for me. I literally just ate these foods and I brought back my period. There are so many women out there who do not have a period because of all of the dieting and the mentality around food that these dietitians are promoting. So it's very upside down. It's like literally backwards. But my page is for the people who are desperate for healing, who literally have no choice but to try animal foods, who literally do not want to be on medication anymore, who are desperate. Okay. And this is something that I see a lot with people who do stick to carnivore, who go carnivore but stick to carnivore, is that we have nowhere else to go. We're so desperate to just be functional. And a lot of these people, they're close to death. And then they go carnivore and they feel alive again for the first time. So carnivore can do that for you if you need it. I'm not interested in forcing people to go carnivore. Like if you're not interested, you have no curiosity and you're here to just troll and say mean things, you're welcome to. Thank you for boosting my post because it
Yeah.
helps the algorithm. Yeah. But for the people who actually want to genuinely learn and possibly try it, Max's channel is fantastic. Literally watch his videos. You can check out my channel. You can check out all of the passionate carnivores who walked it and who are literally at the top of their, health right now. And you can learn, right? And I'm sure there are a lot of communities out there as well. I have one. So if you need more guidance, feel free to join those communities. But I think the best place to start is you have to be desperate enough or at least curious enough to be serious about it. Most people just aren't. And I'm not interested in those people.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such a shame this sort of appeal to authority fallacy that many people have that, whether you have the piece of paper or you don't have the piece of paper, it's like determinant of like your expertise. I think a lot of people don't
Yeah,
realize sort of how the world works. They don't kind of understand who's funding these food studies. And so these nutritionists, these dietitians, they go to school and they're getting these studies shoved down their throat, red meat's bad for you. And they're not,
right.
they people, and then when they get their degree they go repeat these things. The people who watch their videos don't understand sort of, it's not quite the most fair information. But I think one thing that Carnival really has, which is impossible to deny, is that, the testimonies like yourself, especially with people who have done
Yeah,
both. They've been vegan, they've been carnivore. You're like, hey guys, let me show you, carnivore is the way. So over time, as we're seeing with
exactly.
this, it's gaining word of mouth, it's gaining traction. I think in the future it's going to be incredibly hard to discredit carnivore.
Exactly. I agree.
So there's one plant that you, like myself and many other carnivores, still don't quite want to give up, and that is coffee. We're
Oh,
not we're not blinded by it. We know that there's not this one plant that defies the whole plants are trying to kill us thing. But
of course.
you attempted to give coffee up, and I have in the past too,
Yes.
and I didn't feel amazing. And I don't mean to bring back any traumatic experiences for you, but
No.
it didn't
God.
go too well for you. Can you talk us through what happened when you did a time period without coffee?
Yes, yes. You did your research, and that is correct. I went off coffee, I think like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. Um, but I did it cold turkey. Okay. So I didn't do the smartest approach of cutting it out. And there are people out there who have this like very meticulous plan to make sure that you don't have to suffer or go through those caffeine withdrawal headaches. Well, I did it the same way that I started carnivore, which was just cold turkey. Let me just commit. And I cut it out. The first 7 to 10 days, like the headaches were really painful. Like I was actually shocked. I expected it, but I didn't think it would be that throbbing. It was like my whole entire head was like throbbing and pulsating, and it's just like the pain was constant. Even when I slept, it was there. So it wasn't very fun going through that. And for some reason, I was like, if it's this much withdrawal pain, I better feel amazing after it goes away. And after the withdrawal period, to be honest, like I didn't feel euphoric or amazing or like as if I was truly a superhuman. Um, I just felt like interesting. I just miss my ritual every single morning now. And I replaced it with hot water, which was very nice. It's actually a really good hack. I still do it to this day, is just drinking hot water instead of coffee first thing in the morning. But it wasn't that impressive to me where it was like, this is worth it. So naturally, over time, the coffee crept back in. I brought it back in. And of course, I noticed like just how different do I feel now that a plant is added back in. I just felt good. Okay. Like, I'm sorry to all of the hardcore 100% strict pure carnivores. I also know that Dr. Chafee, he says that if you cut out coffee and you work out a lot, you don't feel sore ever. Well, unfortunately, I don't really work out as of now. Maybe down the line I will. But 5.5 years in, I got the results that I got today without killing myself in the gym or working out. But I do move my body the way that I like a lot. But without working out, I didn't get to experience that part. Like, do I actually not feel soreness? Maybe you can speak to that. But adding it back in, I now do it a little bit differently. And it does make a big difference for me hormonally as well. Like I mentioned, hot water in the morning. I never start my morning with coffee because that's going to spike your cortisol. That's going to prevent your body from actually feeling the hunger, the honest hunger when it needs to. And that's not good because if your body is crying out for food and butter or whatever it needs, but you're blocking that with caffeine first thing in the morning, then you're not truly giving your body what it needs. It's stressing your body out if you do it every day. So now I have coffee after eating a proper meal or at least some type of fatty snack. Definitely I don't drink coffee in the morning and it's made a really good impact.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the way you sort of look at coffee is a good way to look at it. Like obviously we know it's not good for us. We're under no disillusions. I see some people try and like to talk about the antioxidant properties, and you know they try to convince themselves it's good for them. But I think like me, that for some people the benefits of coffee to some degree may actually outweigh the negatives. It's a very social thing that makes you feel good. You
Right.
you have it with people. As long as we can
Yes,
look at coffee and go, it's not good for us, but maybe, just maybe, it kind of outweighs the good kind of outweighs the bad. So I think that's a great way you look at it. Mm,
I agree. Yeah.
mm,
Actually, you work out a lot, right,
mhm.
Max?
Yeah.
You work out?
Hmm.
Okay. So when you tested out cutting out coffee, or maybe you didn't test this part out, did you feel a difference in your soreness and recovery?
To be honest, I don't really get like sore at all, especially since switching to carnivore. Just getting rid of all the seed oils
Oh,
and the carbohydrates. I don't get too sore at all.
that's
But
awesome.
yeah, no, I was curious about that
Yeah.
too. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Now, you've seen it all. Obviously, you have the community. You've worked with a lot of people. You've been in the game a very long time. What are some of the more common mistakes you see people make? For me, I usually like I spoke with Kimberly the other
Mm,
day, and we sort of both agreed
mm.
that the two main mistakes we see is that people aren't actually
Yeah.
carnivore. You know what I mean? They do it 70-80%. The weekend comes around, and they can't beat the sugar cravings, as well as the fact that some people just load up on the dairy. They'll eat entire meals of
Right.
cheese, those sorts of things. Are those the things that you
Right.
also commonly see, or do you have some other things that you see?
Wow. Okay. Ken Berry's intense. Like he's pretty hardcore. So for me, as even though I am one, okay, I like to call myself like a full-on carnivore. Yes, I still have coffee, but that honestly to
Yeah.
me is fine. Yeah. So because I am fully carnivore 5.5 years straight, I like to more focus on how can this be sustainable
Hmm.
for the person who's curious enough to start, right? So the I usually don't say you should start carnivore 100% all in, even though that's what I did, because I see from my community a lot who are, most of them are not coming from a vegan background. Most of them are not, coming in with zero period and they have all these skin issues. They're just people who want to feel better, like who want to be able to wake up in the morning and not feel like poop for once. And so I'm very inspired when I see these people with kids, with busy lives and jobs come in and they're able to stick to carnivore. I think being able to stick to carnivore is one of the hardest things. A lot of people underestimate just how hard it is. And I would say the biggest thing that knocks people off is holidays, okay, and eating out, social situations. So when you do holidays, preparation is so important. So I would say the mistake that I see a lot is these new carnivores, they feel overconfident. They're like, I got this, fully carnivore, I feel great. And then they go into the holiday weekend or whatever social celebration there is going on, and they're tempted by that food on that table that they grew up with, right? Their grandma's, famous pie or whatever. Or they have to for the first time in their carnivore journey, they have to put up with social pressure, like literal peer pressure. Their friends saying, "Oh, come on, what's going on? Like, just have a bite." And so they just want to socially fit in and they have that bite. But that single bite leads to a whole weekend binge, right? And they can't fully get out of that binge and they give up or not, or they come back. But I always say, like, if you do slip off carnivore and you do end up having that cheat meal, or you do end up giving in to those temptations, treat it as a learning lesson.
Mhm.
It's okay. You simply just have to go back to your favorite carnivore meal and go back to eating your favorite carnivore meals for however long it takes to feel good again. And then there's the flip side of the coin. Some people, they actually are moderators. Like, would you say that you're a moderator or an
Absolutely not.
abstainer?
Nah, I'm very extreme like
Yeah.
you. I can either do like I'll eat
Right.
no sugar for an entire year, but if I have a mouthful, yeah, it
Yeah.
wouldn't end well for me.
You're addicted again.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And that's
Mhm.
so fascinating. I think a lot of the long-term carnivores who love this lifestyle, they are abstainers like us. But there are people out there who are moderators, okay, or they claim to be moderators. And
Mhm.
they say, they tell me at least, "Oh, I'm able to do full on carnivore Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can enjoy my life, party, have those meals that I enjoy, and I get right back on Monday." If that works for them and they're truly happy and they truly feel great, that's literally out of our control and it's none of our business. And I just want to bring that up. Like, there are people out there thriving and doing that. That's just not me, you know? And that's not Max, because if we were to have that bite of cheat meal or our favorite food, it's not going to be a bite for me. It's going to be the rest of my diet. Like, I'm just going to go back to eating that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel the joint pain and the skin all over again. So we have very strong whys. Like, I have whys that are so strong that I will not give up anything because I don't want to have pimples ever again. I don't want to lose my period because I literally want to have children soon, like I want to have a family. So I cannot lose my period. So it all depends on the person, but that's like the top thing is not preparing well when going out in social situations. What's my best tip is bring sticks of butter. I literally would do that when I was in school. Frozen sticks of butter, I would put it in my backpack and I would put it in my locker in college. And in between classes, busy, but I have those 2 minutes to go to my locker and eat a big bite of butter. There's nothing more efficient than just eating pure fat if you're in a crunch and you have to go, right? If you don't have time to actually sit down and eat your carnivore burger or your carnivore bacon and eggs, just a stick of butter is magical. And it was for me. Or you can just pack a full on carnivore meal, or you can just eat a full on carnivore meal before leaving your house. Done. And that's the best solution to stay carnivore.
Earlier, you spoke about the sort of hate you get. You know what I mean? You have the vegan trolls. Often these people they don't understand you. I guess it comes back to the old saying, you cannot both understand someone and hate them. They don't see that it's coming from a good place. They think that you've been misinformed, and like obviously we know that's not the case. But they
Right.
leave some very nasty things, and as well as you've got like the mainstream media attacking you now too. With these hit
Yeah.
pieces or whatever you want to call them. Some people call them matrix attacks. Whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
you're getting hate coming from all angles. So how does someone who's young like yourself, deal with these things? For a lot of people, it would be incredibly stressful and it would eat them away. What do you do? Do you just not read them? Do you just take of it and go, oh well,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love it. I think the great thing about us, like our generation, and also my little brother is 14 years young. Okay. So watching him grow up and like his whole attitude on life and his friend circle, how they talk, like the great thing about us is that naturally, I don't think we take things too seriously anymore. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. And we get that social media is like literally a place for hate and trolling and joking around. It's not really a serious place. So that's how I treat what I post and how I react to things on social media. And that's why it makes it more fun for me because now I see social media not as like my whole life, which it never is. It's literally like a highlight reel for everybody who, wants to post, especially Instagram, I would say. So the trolls that come running over on Instagram, it's hilarious to me. I treat it as entertainment, my daily dose of laughs, and also inspiration for what I'm going to post next.
Mhm.
So, like, honestly, keep it coming, guys. For those who hate on my posts, it's great. And if you have that attitude, you can make this type of sharing on social media very sustainable and very low stress. It's nothing more than that. But what is the best thing about social media that I think is pretty serious is making friends that I actually want to make friends with. So, like some of the friends that I've made thus far, I literally see them as family, and I met them because of the carnivore community. Like, I'm literally speaking to you right now. I'm meeting you, I'm getting to converse with you, and it's this really good feeling getting to speak to somebody who gets this lifestyle. There's no better feeling. And I'm literally right now in Montana just to go hang out with a carnivore that I met online. Okay, so this is my life, and this type of life I will accept and fully embrace. It is so much fun. And to be able to meet these carnivores, I'm sure one day I'll meet you and we can meet in person and be friends in person. It is so powerful when we can relate to the things that we're both feeling about carnivore. And then together, team meet, we can spread the message even faster, even quicker, even more efficiently. So I think that's the best thing about this sharing on social media. And another thing that keeps me just like laughing and not taking anything seriously is these hate comments, especially on TikTok and Instagram. The lingo and the wording and the language that they use is exactly like my little brother. Okay. So now I can't get the image out that it's like these little 14-year-old kids typing these hate comments. It's nothing more than that. The people who actually take this lifestyle seriously, they will email you. They will go out of your way to join your community, to book your coachings, whatever it is, because they actually want to heal. So I think for those who want to start on social media and who are stressed out about, oh no, what if I get hate comments? See it in that light and everything will be so much easier, and focus on the people who actually need your help.
So if people watch this interview, I'm sure they found you very relatable. Where can they see more of you? You've got a YouTube channel. You spoke about a community. Where can people find those things?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this interview conversation. And I'm Steak and Butter Gal on all platforms, and I post a lot. I post mostly on YouTube and Instagram right now, and anything more than that is just I can't really enjoy my real life. So Instagram and YouTube, you can find me there. And if you do want a community, I do have one. It's called the Steak and Butter Gang, and I'll give Max the link. It's just the letters SBG Meetup. Meat is like fatty meat, meetup.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming
Yeah.
on. I'm sure everyone loved your interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Max.